Folks, I need to apologize for a video I made 2 years ago. It was called The Brainwashing of America's Children, and I made some pretty extreme claims about propaganda in public schools, and I just want to say, that's all true. It completely holds up, no notes. The thing I want to apologize for is that I let you down. While I was searching for oil propaganda for that episode, I became aware of the existence of a 17-minute video that sounded so punishingly stupid that I spent months of my life trying to track it down. It was a parody of the 1995 classic Clueless, starring Alicia Silverstone, Paul Rudd, this guy, and Turk from Scrubs. The parody version was called Fuelless, off to a rough start right away, and it was created by America's biggest oil lobby to be shown to children. The problem was, the only evidence of its existence I could find on the internet was this screen grab. But when every search came up dry, I decided to just forget about it, finish the video, and move on with my life. But then, as if by divine intervention, I was sent a bootleg copy of the movie Fuelless. And my friends, it's everything I dreamed it would be. So now after 2 years of searching, I finally present my favorite piece of oil propaganda ever produced, Fuelless, You Can't Be Cool Without Fuel. Actual title. Hi, I'm Rollie Williams, a guy with a climate science and policy degree and the proud owner of a used DVD player, and this is a video about a lost piece of 90s oil propaganda finally found. Welcome to Climate Town. Just drop into Fuelless, I want to stress how fundamentally not online this was. The only trace of the video I could find was on the American Petroleum Institute's website with no links, just a block of text. But they did include this phone number that teachers can call to get 5 free copies of the DVD. Jackpot. I must have called that number a dozen times and no one ever picked up. And at this point, most people would give up. But those people didn't read the description for Fuelless because, my God, every single sentence made me want to watch this thing more. A DVD film for teen students that uses pop music and dance to illustrate the often invisible role petroleum products play in our lives. Pretty tantalizing. But if that's not enough for you, don't worry, it's got everything. It's even got a cast that includes a real science teacher and several teens. Oh. We cannot use that. Take. Yeah. I also found a Reddit post from somebody who actually saw Fuelless when they were in school, but it turned out they also couldn't find a copy anywhere. After searching high and low, I discovered there was one confirmed way that you could watch Fuelless. You had to physically travel to the Illinois Oilfield Museum in Oblong, Illinois, conveniently located inside the devil's asshole between Louisville, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. Once there, you can make an appointment to be shown a physical copy of Fuelless, and no, you can't make a recording. Still, I was prepared to make that trip. To kill time waiting for the museum to open, I even planned to visit one of Oblong, Illinois' only marked locations on the map, a Bitcoin ATM. But then someone I had been emailing with for 2 years sent me this DVD in the mail. Not this actual disc, this is actually just a Hoobastank CD that I wrote Fuelless on. I sent the real one back. That's not the point. The point is, we got it, let's check it out. Now this thing is 17 minutes long, so I'm only gonna show you my favorite parts, but I do have to show you the very beginning so you can experience what I experienced when I hit play on a strange DVD that I got in the mail.
You're absolutely not going to believe this.
Whoa, yep, that's the first frame. They made this poor girl get naked for some oil propaganda for public schools. Wherever this woman is now, we are so sorry. I guess the writers figured this was the best way to convince middle school boys that oil is cool. And now for the never explained inciting incident.
Everything I have that's really cool comes from oil. Okay, I didn't believe it either until something really weird happened. Everything I had that came from oil just disappeared.
Okay, no sound mixing. She just cranks a 200 decibel scream into the microphone and we just pipe it straight into these kids' eardrums. They'll be fine, they'll bounce back, they're kids. But at least we got the premise out. All of her oil products have disappeared. I mean, not the plastic housing on her hairdryer or her hairbrush or the many other plastic items on her dresser, but whatever. Let's see the next clip.
I mean, it was so depressing. All my friends at school were still looking totally great, and there I was, no makeup, a serious case of bedhead, and wearing like burlap. Hello, horror.
Okay, now we're really dropping into the pocket of this video. They're in a high school. She's talking like Alicia Silverstone from the source material Clueless. She's wearing a burlap sack. They're worried about fashion. And what is going on with the 17 magazine girl? Why is she holding it like she's a driver trying to pick someone named 17 up from the airport? Now, my best guess is that she was supposed to look like a teenager, except they dressed her up like a 70-year-old Republican congresswoman and were wondering why she didn't read like she was 17. And someone on set was like, oh my God, I have the perfect magazine for this. And then she held it out. That's what I think probably happened. And look, this is a Climate Town video, so we did our homework. I zoomed in on this frame, I found the specific issue of 17 magazine she's holding in the shot, bought a copy of it on eBay for $30, and then found this reference to the movie Clueless on page 26. Is the FBI on its way to my house? Probably. But that's a small price to pay for what could generously be described as an Easter egg. But now we're really cooking with gas. Let's go to the scene where our main character meets the real science teacher, a sort of Wish.com Miss Frizzle.
Miss Watkins, this is the worst day of my entire life. My hairdryer won't work. My makeup is gone, and so are my clothes. And Miss Watkins seemed to know exactly what had happened.
Crystal, it sounds to me like everything in your life that's made from oil is gone.
And she opens this book on her desk, and the next thing I know, we're in this, oil field. And she goes,
You probably think that oil only heats your house and runs your car.
and I go hello, where are we? And she says,
This is an oil field.
like she thinks I'm clueless or something. Miss Watkins, you must think I'm totally clueless.
Clueless isn't exactly the word that I had in mind, Crystal. What's abundantly clear is you are completely fuelless.
She said the title. Finish your drink, whatever you're drinking. I don't care what it is. Hot coffee, a cup of milk, you drink it right now. Now, we've been to her house, the school, a classroom, an oil field. We're already off the rails. But I was not prepared for where we were going next. Now, I would like to challenge you to speculate wildly about where this iMovie-ass water ripple dissolve was gonna take us. Take a guess and make it as big and stupid as you want, and I can almost guarantee you that whatever you're thinking makes more sense than where we're actually going.
Life can be so cruel. You just cannot be cool.
That's right. It's an original music video heavily featuring someone's nephew's intermediate jazz ballet team. What the f*** are we doing here? We're only 3 minutes into Fuelless. They've already deployed the music video? I guess anything to keep middle schoolers interested, and you know how much they love hip-hop music written by 50-year-old white people. Take it away.
Life can be so cool. Fuelless. Just cannot be cool. Fuelless.
But when the song finally ends and we go on to the next phase of the video, you're gonna be begging to go back to the Jazz Boys, because the next 11 minutes are a bonanza of boring oil history interspersed with fossil fuel industry talking points about how we use oil in a lot of shit. They're in the ocean talking about how natural oil is. They're in a grocery store talking about how plastic bags are made of oil. They're in a hospital looking at pills. We even take a trip to an oil refinery and meet a man whose mullet grew him as he starts spouting off everything he can think of that's made of oil.
Toothpaste, telephones, TV sets, skateboards, shampoo, computers, CDs, contact lenses, cars, credit cards, you name it.
You name it. I mean, it's basically the low-budget version of this clip from Landman.
Hell, it's in everything. That road we came in on, it's in tennis rackets and lipstick and refrigerators and antihistamines, pretty much anything plastic, soap, garbage bags, fishing boats, you name it.
You name it. But after this little trip through the oil industry's greatest hits, we get to the real meat and potatoes of Fuelless. All this and more coming up after a ad break. Look what these online scammers have reduced me to. I'm a freaking shell of a man hiding from the world because I'm so afraid that they're gonna identity theft me. Word is they're sniffing around for my social security number, my medical information, my political affiliation, shopping habits, my home address, my phone number, the list goes on. And I wish they just wanted to learn about me so they could accurately portray me in a flattering movie about my life. But no, they're either selling my information or using it to impersonate me. Me! Luckily, there's Incogni. Incogni is out here every single day, diligently combing the internet for places that have my data and then removing it. The process is complicated and annoying, but Incogni loves doing it, and I love my information being out of the hands of people that want to misuse it. My favorite Incogni tool is a sort of internet hitman feature called custom removals. If you ever come across any of your own information that's been leaked online, rather than having to figure out how to become Liam Neeson all by yourself, or what's that guy's name from A History of Violence? Viggo Mortensen. Remember when he crashes that guy with a coffee mug? You don't have to figure out how to do that, because you can send the link to your dedicated privacy expert and they will, take care of it. You'll even have access to the Incogni dashboard that shows you the hundreds of lists your information is on and where they are in the process of getting it taken off. They've saved me hundreds of hours of tedious internet sleuthing and freed me up. Well, I guess to do hundreds more hours of tedious internet sleuthing, but it's for stuff that I actually care about. And Incogni doesn't just remove your information once, they are constantly going back over the web, making sure your personal information doesn't get pulled back into a life of crime. So if you'd like to remove yourself from the internet and keep it that way, try Incogni today. Just scan the QR code or use the link in the description and use offer code CLIMATE for 60% off the annual plan. What a deal! Incogni. Now I only hide for fun. And we're back for the thrilling conclusion of Fuelless. After the oil field trip, we go to the cafeteria and the oil propaganda gets to really shine.
The plates, the cups, the straws, they all come from oil.
Remember, this whole video was produced by a gigantic oil and gas lobby in the 1990s, and at that time, they were feeling very attacked. Environmental groups were getting more and more critical of the fossil fuel industry, and at the same time, climate change was just starting to become an internationally recognized issue. The United Nations was actively working on a global agreement to reduce emissions,
and do not allow the interests of a handful of countries and special interest groups to dictate the future of our planet.
That could in turn devastate the oil and gas industry. So it was this video's job to convince middle school students that fossil fuels are actually really great and irreplaceable, and that oil and gas companies are actually incredible stewards of the environment. So after her tour of the wide world of oil, our Alicia Silverstone character gets to play the part of an innocent environmentalist who knows just enough to ask what she thinks are gotcha questions, only to get clocked with the haymaker of truth from our real science teacher.
Fortunately, the Earth isn't close to running out of oil anytime soon, but we need to be responsible about using what Mother Nature provides.
But then I remembered those oil spills I used to see on the news. That's responsible?
What about oil spills?
Ooh, let's see how you deal with that question that you wrote for yourself, oil lobby.
Well, there's no fail-safe guarantee against oil spills, but there's a reason why you don't hear about them as much as you used to. Because stricter standards for oil tankers and the people who pilot them have been adopted.
Wow, environmentalist, I bet you feel dumb, because oil companies know all about oil spills and stricter standards have been adopted, okay? Nice passive voice on that too. I mean, it really sounds like oil companies felt that they weren't being safe enough and decided to raise their own standards to save the planet. What they failed to mention here is why. When the Exxon Valdez dumped over 10 million gallons of crude oil into the ocean, casually killing hundreds of thousands of animals, the government passed the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, which forced oil companies to fund the cleanup of future oil spills, required double hulls on tankers operating in the US, and a handful of other regulations. So stricter standards were adopted in the same way that convicted felons decide to move to prison. And even with all the regulations, we still get the biggest oil spill in the history of humanity a little over a decade after Fuelless was released. But we don't hear about that context. All we hear is that oil spills basically never happen, so that's a dumb thing to be worried about. And we're not done yet. We also get this nice little line about the oil and automobile industry's heroic efforts to reduce pollution.
Oil companies are developing and making fuels that burn more cleanly and efficiently. And car companies are making car engines that produce less pollution. Things have gotten so much better that it would take 20 new cars to produce the same amount of pollution as one 1960s model.
Very cool. Hey, quick question. How come car companies decided to make their cars more efficient? Was it because it was the right thing to do and they did it out of the goodness of their own heart? Or because the EPA forced them to drastically reduce emissions in the 1970s? Yeah, car companies fought tooth and nail to be allowed to pollute, even going so far as to claim this regulation would do irreparable harm to the American economy. But the evil EPA followed through on the regulation, and car companies were f***ing fine. And despite being fine, both car companies and oil companies have continued to aggressively fight against fuel efficiency and pollution regulation. So yeah, they're technically doing better on emissions, but only after being forced to, and despite spending millions of dollars to try to avoid it. And it's the same with this.
Because of these efforts and new environmental laws, the air is getting cleaner. Lead in the air, for example, is down 96% since the mid-70s when you were born.
You know why there was so much lead in the air? Because it was in all the gasoline that oil companies produced. And the reason they stopped putting it in the gasoline is because the EPA said they couldn't do that anymore. But if you're a middle school student just watching this, you wouldn't know any of that, would you? You'd probably conclude that these big industries are doing their part for the planet. And what a bunch of good guys they probably are. And so are environmentalist caves under the sheer weight of oil facts.
I think I get it now. You're right. Nature is just as elegant as Armani, who is a very important designer.
And oil is like neat. Oh wow, what just happened?
You've just gotten your things back, which means you truly understand and appreciate the value of oil and how useful it is.
Honestly, I think I like the sax better, but whatever, she finally gets it. After some low-grade extortion, she admits that oil is good, and now she can go back to dressing like the grandma from Gilmore Girls. Kind of an unsatisfying way to wrap up this narrative, but this is oil propaganda, it ain't Breaking Bad.
Get off the toilet! Get off the toilet!
But then we get the real sleight of hand right at the end. We learn that oil is useful and it's in everything, and with the right regulation, the fossil fuel industry can clean up its act. Except for one little thing. The fossil fuel industry f***ing hates regulation. They spend millions of dollars to avoid getting regulated, including financing propaganda like Fuelless. So rather than stating the obvious conclusion that these industries only care about the environment when they are legally forced to, we're treated to an amazing switcheroo for who they think is responsible for keeping nature safe. It's you!
You know, part of the price of progress has been paid by our environment, but we're reversing that trend. The air in America is getting cleaner and cleaner because, like you,
Soldier boy, tell.
We're all pitching in to clean up. What's clear, Crystal, is that a large part of our future lies in the hands of people like you.
Soldier boy, tell.
Who really understand and appreciate the issues and are willing to pitch in and help.
And I really got goosebumps when she said that because I knew that I could make a difference. And even if it means teaching all these gross, sweaty high school boys about recycling in the environment, it's really worth it.
Yep, despite almost every example of environmental protection in this video being regulation-based, Fuelless determines that the only way to a healthy planet is through good old personal responsibility. The oil companies can take it from here, kids. If you really want to help, why don't you get all those middle school students to help you recycle plastic bottles?
Over 3/4 of the school have already pledged to recycle their plastics, aluminum cans, and paper.
And I guess recycle all the used motor oil that middle school kids always have lying around?
Over 60 people have signed up to recycle their used motor oil.
Part of the price of progress has been paid by our environment, but we're reversing that trend.
So that's Fuelless. The whole thing has a real how do you do fellow kids kind of vibe, but what I like most about it is how clearly you can see the oil lobby agenda behind all the dialogue. And just to say it, this was a lot of work. They rented out a school, they booked multiple locations, they had craft services, lights, sound, and I know I joked about this earlier, but they really did get several teens. They even wrote and recorded an original music video, all so they could get their agenda in front of a bunch of unsuspecting public school kids. And to their point, yes, there is a lot of oil in our lives, and yes, oil has been very helpful over the past 100 years. No one is debating that. We're just at a point now where it makes less and less sense to constantly burn oil when we don't need to. Maybe we could even think about blasting out less single-use plastic. But oil companies sell oil, and they want people to use their product as much as possible. And the conclusions of this particular video reflect the goals of the fossil fuel industry and not the health and safety of the environment and general public. And also, this is not the only time the oil industry uses the whole "your oil products disappeared" trope in their propaganda. In fact, they use it quite a lot. Here's a Shell oil commercial starring Leslie Nielsen.
Imagine life today without oil and natural gas.
Here's a children's book called Petro Pete's Big Bad Dream, paid for by Oklahoma oil and gas companies. And good lord, I wish I could save sweet 50-year-old construction kid Pete, but he loses all his beloved oil products too. And there's also an ad for a pipeline company that uses the exact same premise in 2021.
Life will be very different because oil and gas are part of just about everything you touch. From the stuff in your hair to the stuff you wear. And so much more. Our world would be unrecognizable if the products we rely on just disappeared. Better luck next time.
And by the way, I have this exact same shirt. I wore it for an entire episode of a Climate Town video, and I would have had it here today, but my girlfriend hid it from me. She hates it, she thinks it's ugly. But before she hid it, I looked at the tag, and unfortunately it's part polyester, which is plastic, so this dude should have been topless. But that's too racy for the oil industry. In their propaganda, only teenage girls are allowed to be topless for no reason. Just show her with wet hair in a robe, we'll get it, you don't need to make her do that. But no, that's how the video had to start. Awesome. But it was all worth it for suburban street soft shoe jazz from a low-rent Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So there you have it. You're now one of the lucky few internet users to have seen clips from Fuelless. Not only is it bad, but it also shows you just how little the oil industry respects the intelligence of our middle school students. There's not a lot we can do about Fuelless at this point. Whatever psychic damage it did to America's youth is probably pretty much baked in, but it is a nice way to look back at the agenda of the oil lobby. They're constantly trying to rewrite history to reposition themselves as the good guys, and stuff like this is a great reminder that they've basically been doing the same shit since their inception. We've done a whole bunch of other videos that focus on the various ways the fossil fuel industry misrepresents themselves, and the climate science, and a bunch of other different things, so check out those videos if you're curious using the links in the description. And now it's time to place Fuelless You Can't Be Cool Without Fuel back in the Climate Town Disney Vault. And that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for taking this trip back in time to when your dead-eyed substitute teacher would roll in a cart with the shittiest TV you ever saw in your whole life. If you liked what you saw, consider subscribing to our Patreon page. It's patrons just like and who allow us to keep making videos just like this one without having to rewrite our scripts so that they don't offend the fine folks at Honda or whatever corporation decided to buy up our channel. Honda, the least bad of the car companies. Actually, Honda. Yeah! That's the kind of loose anti-corporate style you can expect over on our Patreon page, where patrons get access to behind-the-scenes videos, monthly town halls, and posts where I share photos of stuff that I did or stuff that I want to do. And of course, we'll give you the number to the Climate Town landline, a real phone that you can really call, and most of the time, I'll answer, and we'll have a nice conversation. What's that? We're also doing a live show at San Francisco Sketch Festival on January 21st? Liar! No, it's true. We'll be performing a live version of our next episode before it hits YouTube, so if you want a sneak peek that's also live and we'll never do it again, January 21st, San Francisco, the Great Star Theater, be there, baby. We also have a podcast called The Climate Deniers Playbook, a newsletter also called Climate Town, shirts, hats, you name it. Okay. I said, quick question. You didn't take this shirt, did you? I hate that shirt. Yeah, but did you take it or hide it or something? Why would I do that? And then I did a picture that said, I hate that shirt. You can't find it? Can you think of any reason why I'd be having a hard time finding it? What do you need it for? We're doing an episode about Fuelless. Oh, and then she caved. It's fine. It's in the closet in a black zipper trap.
Oh, literally hidden.
Yeah.
It's literally hidden.
I have not tried marijuana. I have never used it at any time.
Did you hear that pop?
Goodbye. What, no hug for Uncle Rollie? Come on!